Today we're going to create the locator part. We're going to use multiple views to create this in the same way we created the 10391 drawing. These views, by the way, are also called orthographic views. I talked about them as projection views last time. And in this case, you're going to see that we're able to create this part using 3 views, and I'm going to show you a manner that we can use, or a way that we can use to help transfer information from one view to the next. So what we're going to do is we're going to just take a look at this drawing, and we see that we have if we look at it from the face here, we see that we have basically a box that's 2.5 inches by 5 inches. And if we were looking at it from the top down, we would have a box that is 3 inches, 3 inches here by 5 inches. And if we were looking at it from the front, looking in this way, we would have a box that was 3 inches by 2.5 inches high. And those are going to be the starting dimensions that we're going to use to create this. Before we get to doing that, let's go ahead and set up our drawing parameters and set up our layers. So we're going to go into AutoCAD. I'm going to start a new drawing. And I'm just going to go ahead and check my units. My units here are set to millimeters. I'm going to change it to inches. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to check my startup here. Do this one last time. My startup is 1. So when I create new, I get my start from scratch menu. With my start from scratch menu, I'm going to choose my imperial, so I'll just choose my feet and inches here. Get OK. Hit OK to start. Okay, so I'm going to open up my layers, and I'm going to add, let's see, 1, 2, 3. I think we need 4 layers. We'll see if we can get away with this. We're going to have an object layer. We're going to have a construction layer. We're going to have a center layer. We're going to have a hidden layer, and we need one additional layer. We're going to have a dimension layer. Now our objects layer can stay white. We'll make our construction layer gray. Our center layer we'll make green. Actually, we'll make our hidden layer green. We'll make our center layer, we'll choose magenta, and we'll make our dimension layer red. So we're going to make our center and dimension layer slightly different colors here. Alright, so we do need to change line types here. So on the we need to add 2 line types. So we're going to come to line types. We're going to add a center 2, and then we're also going to load up hidden 2. And remember, you can do the loading all at the same time. We were in the center here, so we're going to choose the center 2 for the line here. Click OK. And then for the hidden, we're going to choose the hidden 2 and click OK. Alright, so now our line types are all set up. So we're going to go ahead and close this down. And then I'm going to go ahead and save this as a template so we can use this in the future. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save As. And now I'm going to go choose Save As AutoCAD Drawing Template, DWT. And I'm going to leave this in the AutoCAD template area. And the reason I'm going to leave it here is because it's easier to find here. And we will be using at least one of these templates later. All right, so I'm going to choose this as my Chapter 5, or name this as my Chapter 5 template. So whenever we need this standard template, we can just open this up. I just call it template for locator part. Hit OK. Now I'm going to close this down because we don't actually want to save the drawing under this. What I'm then going to do, use File New, and now I'm going to click Use Template, and we see we have our Chapter 5 template automatically comes up here. I choose OK, and note, it opened it up as a new drawing. So it doesn't open up the template, it opens it up as a new drawing. And that's the difference between a drawing and a template. They're otherwise identical. I'm going to close this drawing too, because we don't need that. You can see we have all our layers set up here. I'm going to choose my Objects Layer Start. So now we can go ahead and get started. So actually, I chose my objects layer, but I'm going to start off in my in my construction layer. I'm going to come back and take a look at my file, and if you remember, I said we had a box that was 5 by 2.5. So I'm going to simply start by creating a horizontal construction line. And create a vertical construction line. Then I'm going to use offset, specify my distance. So we're going to set a distance of 2.5. We'll choose this line and move up. Choose offset again, set a distance of 1.5. And that's just going to give me a spacing between one view and the next. And when I'm up here, I'm going to be looking at my top-down view. If I have this as my front view, when I'm looking at my top-down view, I'll be looking this face. So this cutout will be this length will be 3 inches. So I'll have another offset of 3. And back from this corner now we need to make some vertical lines. So the length of this part in the X space was 5 inches. Type 5, choose my line, put my offset in. We'll put another spacing of 1.5 inches in to put put a separation in. And then, looking back at our drawing, excuse me, when we're looking at our front face, the width here will be 3 inches. Excuse me, 3 inches? Yes. Yes, 3 inches. So come back over here. Type 3. Select this line and move over 3 inches. Okay, so now all we're going to do is draw in these boxes. So we're going to go into our objects layer, choose line, and draw our boxes. And what you're going to see here is we're going to move around and not necessarily complete one view before we move to the next view. Alright, so we have our 3 boxes drawn. Now, this box here, again corresponding to the front view, we have a height of 1 inch, and then we have a thickness of 1 inch. And the rest of the material is basically just going to be cut out. So we can come back here, and we can actually continue to use offset. We may use offset a lot for this drawing. And we can type 1. Choose this line and move it up. Choose this line and move it over. Now we can trim this out by first selecting these 2 lines and deleting this. And then we can select this line to delete that, and this line to delete that. So now we have this kind of rolled over inverted L shape. Now, we also know that when we're looking at this top piece here, when we're now going to actually move up to this drawing. So this drawing is us looking straight down from the top. And when we're looking from the top, we have this cut out here. And that's actually just an extension of this. So what we can do is choose line, start here and get a tracking line. We haven't hit our mouse button yet. We get to this point, we start the line, and then just continue the line to the other side, like so. We see that this middle portion, the center portion here, is 1 inch. And there's also going to be 1 inch on this side and 1 inch on that side. We also see that this opening is 1 inch. So what we can actually do is just put a horizontal line directly across at 1 inch intervals. And in fact, again, we can use offset. So we choose offset. We're still at 1. So we can choose this line. What are we doing here? Choose offset. Select for 1. Choose this line and move it up. And then choose this line and move it up again. And that actually gives us the proper line here, and it starts this opening here. Now over here, when we're looking down, we have this little cut. And this little cut is 0.25 inches here, and then 1.75 inches in that dimension. So when you come back here, we can choose line. We can start our tracking line over, type 1.75, and hit enter. And that starts a line there. And then to get it to end over here, we can type at 1.75, comma, 0.25. And then hit escape. Now the other way to do it, we'll do this on the top. Again, we get our tracking line here. We type 1.75. And that brings us to there. The other way to do it is to come down here, and again, I'm not hitting my mouse button yet. Once we get to this end point, we can start bringing our tracking line down. Once we start bringing our tracking line down, all we have to do is type 0.25 and hit enter. And that gives us the second cut. We can then use trim to trim out those pieces. So we can select those two lines, hit enter, and trim this, trim that, trim this, and trim that. Now we also have this circle. The circle is of a diameter 1, and it's located 2.25 inches in from the center. So we can go over here, choose circle diameter. Now, do you see here I have this little triangle? If you did not get this little triangle, you need to come down here. Your snap to 2D reference points needs to be on, and then you need to have midpoint turned on. If you don't have midpoint turned on, you won't see that triangle. So if I turn this off, when I choose circle, see, I don't see that triangle. So I turn midpoint on, and then I see that triangle. So once I get that tracking line, I type 2.25, I hit enter, I hit 1, enter, and that puts the circle in. Okay, so now we can continue to trim off pieces that we don't need. So if we select trim, we select this line and this line. We can delete this, and we can delete that, and that gives us an opening. Then we choose trim again, select this, let's see, we have to choose trim and we have to select this and this line. And then we can delete this piece and that piece. And you can see now it's starting to look very much like our part. So the final thing that we need to add to this piece is this little cutout here. And this little cutout is 0.25 inches by 0.5 inches. So we can come back to our drawing, choose line. We move over by 0.25, hit enter, move up by 0.5, hit return, and then we move back here to finish the cutout. And we do the same thing on the top. We'll blow this up a little bit. So we start here, haven't hit the mouse button, we hit 0.25, enter, 0.5, enter, and then here we don't have to hit 0.25, we can simply just bring it back to the intersection. Once we do that, we just need to trim out the pieces that don't belong. So we select those 4 segments, and then we delete, we delete, we delete, and we delete. Okay, so while we're here, we should take a line, and from this intersection bring down a tracking line and put a line right there. Because remember, there's a change here in the part. So we need to show this line as we're looking at this view. Now, we also need to show a line here and a line here. There's some stuff over here we need to show. However, I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to show you how to transfer that and make it easy. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this box. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into, actually we can do this either in the construction layer or not. I'm going to do this in the objects layer. So in the objects, first in the objects layer, we're going to draw a line like this. So we're going to draw a diagonal line here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go into the construction layer, and we're going to draw construction lines at every one of these relief points. So we're going to, we want to do this in on the construction layer. So we'll go into construction layer, and at these relief points we draw horizontal construction lines. So we draw a line there, draw a line there, draw a line there, draw a line in the center, Draw a line here. Draw a line at this point. Draw a line at that point. And we already have the line at the end. Now we're going to choose our trim, make this our trim point. And we're going to trim off all these extra lines that go out to infinity on this side. Now we're going to use these lines here and bring them down to this drawing. And as we do, we're going to decide how and where we display them. Now before I do that, I'm going to do the following. First of all, I'm going to go back into my objects layer because it's pretty much where we're going to be working, at least most of the time. But we'll change layers as needed. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring across a tracking line, and I'm going to draw that directly across the part, just like that. And the reason I did that is because as we're looking at the front face, we have to show this. So this is what that line is showing. So the next thing we're going to do, let's come back here, is we're going to bring down this line here. And this line shows this relief here. And this only happens at the bottom piece. So it's going to be a visible line. And as we bring it down, it only exists here, like that. And then we're going to go on the other side and do the same thing. On the opposite side, we can do the same thing. So we bring it down and then draw the line. Now the next line is going to exist as a hidden line because this is in the back, these two. So we're going to go into the hidden layer from here. And first we need to bring down a tracking line, and the hidden line is going to start here and go all the way to the bottom. Start here and go all the way to the bottom. And again, it's hidden because we can't see it from this view, and it does start all the way to the back. Now, the next line, or the next set of lines, for this center part here and there, we're going to bring all the way to the bottom, from the top to the bottom, on the object layer. And in a minute you'll see why. We start here, bring it all the way to the bottom, and then on the other side, start here, bring it all the way to the bottom. Now this line is not actually necessary because we only needed it for a center line, and in fact, as long as we have a midpoint, we're perfectly fine because we can just draw a center line in. And what we should do is this. We know that this is 2.5 inches. So with my center line, I'm going to start here, and I'm going to start 0.5 inches down. So I'm using a tracking line to start 0.5 inches lower. And then I'm going to make that center line 3.5 inches long. Which will make it extend by 0.5 inches. Okay, so let's continue here. We have as we look here, we have this 30-degree angle. And it starts from here. So what we can do, I'll blow this up a little bit, go back into our objects layer, choose a line, start here, and what I can do is I can type at, and I can choose an arbitrary length. So I'm going to say a length of 2, and then my angle here actually there are two ways to do this. We can actually type it, or if we set with 30-degree angles, which we actually are, we can choose line. And then remember, this is 180, so if we want to go 30 degrees beyond that, we'll be at 210. So we can simply draw a line just like this. So an angle of 210. And then we go on the other side. And over here, I'm going to show it to you the other way. So over here, we start a line, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to make it an arbitrary length. So I'm going to make it a length of 2, and then an angle of minus 30. And when I do it this way, I have to then take the line, and then I select the line, and then I choose lengthen to bring it back to the intersection. Okay, so once I do that, I can choose trim, select this diagonal, select this diagonal, and hit enter, and I can delete, 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 and delete. Now this line here, we then need to bring back all the way down to here. Because the opening, remember, if we take a look up here, only occurs right here. We don't have anything going on up here related to these lines. So again, I have to bring this one down to that intersection. Now, we're still missing the little cutout here. And the way that we do that cutout is we start with a line at this point here, and we want to bring a tracking line over. We start a line here, and then we want to then use our object snap tracking to get another tracking point from this point. And again, I'm not hitting my mouse button, but I'm bringing a tracking line down from that point. And at the point where I get the vertical line, I hit return. Excuse me, I hit my mouse button. And then I hit escape to stop. And I'm gonna do that one more time. And in fact, I'm going to turn off these angles first, because we don't need those angles, and those were adding a few extra tracking lines that maybe made it a little more difficult to see. I'm going to delete that. So we start from here, we bring across our tracking line, we start our line here, and we come up to this corner, and we get a tracking line from that corner, and we bring it down to here, to the point where we have a horizontal line, and then we hit our mouse button to stop the line, or to draw the corner, and then we hit escape. Now the next thing that we do is we go from this line here, because this is where the cut starts, and again we bring a tracking line all the way over to this edge, the start of the part, and there's a couple of different ways to do it. This is one way. One way is to come back to this corner and bring a tracking line up. I guess this is the best way. Make a vertical line like that, and then just bring that make a horizontal line. Then bring the vertical line. So we made that horizontal line there, and then we bring the vertical line all the way down, just like that. And that completes the part. I'm going to go ahead and turn off my construction lines. And I am going to put this on the construction layer. So we don't have to see it. Now, what are we missing? Well, we're missing on center lines from the center of this circle. Well, first we should put in, I guess, a center mark. So we have a center mark there. And then from the center of this circle, we need to draw in a center line here. And in this case, the center line happened to come out solid. I'm going to delete that and try that one more time because we can actually start above it. So what I'm going to do, at the point where I get to here, I'm going to actually move up by 0.5. I think this will work. We'll see. No, it actually will not. Alright, so from the center line, we know this is it's better to put in the center lines prior to putting in the center marks, because if you put them in afterwards, you can run into problems trying to select them. Alright, so let's do that one more time. So we're on line. We choose here. And I'm going to just choose my line here, and then I'm going to go up by 1.5, hit enter, and then I'm going to come down here and go down by 0.5 and hit enter. Okay, so at this point, the drawing is complete. I'm going to go ahead and save it. Save as. And we don't, of course, don't want to save it as a template. Spring 21, chapter 5, and we'll just call this locator. And that completes this video.